Okay, let's unpack this. You know that feeling right around like 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Oh, yeah, the afternoon slump.
Right, but specifically with your eyes. You've been staring at a spreadsheet or, reading articles all day, and you finally stop to rub your eyes. And it feels like someone just, like they poured a tiny spoonful of warm sand right under your eyelids.
That is a very accurate, very uncomfortable description.
Yeah, it's the worst. So today, we aren't just going to sit here complaining about screen fatigue. We're actually doing a deep dive into the biology of that digital stare.
Right.
We're pulling from some really interesting sources today, specifically an article titled Visium Plus and Digital Eye Strain, to figure out exactly why our screens are so exhausting and to map out a practical, science-backed defense strategy for you. Because, I mean, let's face it, you can't just throw your laptop and your smartphone into the ocean and go live in the woods.
As appealing as a total digital detox sounds sometimes, yeah, it's just not realistic. The modern reality is that most adults are spending upwards of 8 hours a day locked onto screens.
8 hours. Wow.
At least. I mean, when you combine the workday, maybe online classes, scrolling through social media, and then, unwinding by streaming a show or playing a video game.
Which is pretty much everyone's evening.
Exactly. The exposure is essentially continuous, and your body responds to this with a condition that is clinically recognized as digital eye strain.
Oh, is that the same as computer vision syndrome?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. They're used interchangeably, and the symptoms for it are, well, they're extensive.
Yeah, the sources had a whole laundry list of modern misery. Obviously, there's profound eye fatigue, dry and irritated eyes, blurred vision.
Difficulty focusing, too.
Right. And increased sensitivity to light.
Yeah.
But, what really surprised me in the research was that it also includes tension headaches and neck and shoulder discomfort. Like, why my shoulders?
Well, it's a cascading physical reaction. So when your vision starts to blur even slightly from fatigue, your natural instinct is to literally lean closer to the monitor.
Oh, I totally do that. I'm practically inside the screen by 5 p.m.
Right. You crane your neck forward, and that throws your entire spine out of alignment. So if you're listening to this right now and you're rubbing your neck or your temples, you aren't just generally tired. You are putting your visual and your musculoskeletal system through a pretty grueling, unnatural workout.
That makes so much sense. And, I always just assumed reading was reading, like a word is a word. But the sources highlight a massive difference between reading text on a digital screen versus reading a physical printed book.
Yeah, it's a completely different mechanical task for your eyes.
Because of the pixels, right? Like, when you look at a physical book, the ink on the paper has a hard, firmly defined edge. But digital screens use pixels. And those pixels, they have less defined, slightly blurred edges.
Exactly.
It made me think about it like walking. Reading printed text is like walking on a nicely paved road. Your footing is solid. But looking at digital pixels is like walking on loose sand.
That's a great way to put it.
Your visual system is constantly having to micro-adjust its footing just to keep the image sharp.
Yeah, your visual cortex is essentially hunting for a sharp edge that doesn't actually exist. Not in the same way it does on paper, anyway. The eye is this tiny, incredibly complex mechanism, and when you're looking at a screen, you're forcing it to constantly adjust.
To the loose sand.
Right, but also to changing images, varying brightness levels, moving content, sudden contrast changes, and furthermore, you're continually refocusing between different distances.
Like looking from my monitor down to my phone?
Exactly. Glancing from a large monitor down to a tiny phone screen, back up to the monitor, you are demanding continuous high-precision performance from muscles that are getting zero downtime.
Okay, so if the muscles are working that hard to find focus in the loose sand of pixels,
Yeah.
I'm really curious about the sheer physical dryness aspect. Why does staring at a screen create that specific gritty, burning sensation? Am I literally just forgetting to blink?
That is precisely the biological trap.
Wait, really? I just forget.
Basically, yeah. Under normal non-screen conditions, a human being blinks roughly 15 to 20 times per minute. It's just an automatic reflex.
Right.
But the moment you engage with a digital screen, your brain prioritizes visual data intake over almost everything else, and that blink rate just drops off a cliff.
It drops off a cliff. So it's like driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour and completely forgetting to turn on the windshield wipers.
Yes. Perfect analogy.
The fluid just evaporates into the air, the glass gets all smudged, and the whole mechanism just starts grinding.
That is exactly what happens. Blinking is literally the only mechanism your body has to spread this really complex layer of tears across the surface of the eye.
Ah.
So when you stop blinking, those tears evaporate rapidly. The surface loses its lubrication.
And cue the burning, stinging sand feeling.
Exactly. But what's fascinating here is the mechanical fallout from that. A dry eye actually causes your visual clarity to fluctuate.
Really? Just from being dry?
Yeah. A dry cornea cannot refract light smoothly. So that actually forces those tiny focusing muscles we just talked about to work even harder to compensate for the new blurriness.
Oh, man. So it's a vicious cycle. The pixels make it hard to focus, so you stare. Staring makes you stop blinking. Not blinking makes your eyes dry, and the dryness makes it even harder to focus on the pixels.
You nailed it. And the research points out a really insidious trap here regarding how we actually use our devices, because it's not just that unbroken, 3-hour stretch of writing an email or coding that dries out the eyes.
Right, the sources mention something called micro-sessions,
Yes. The modern lifestyle is built entirely on microsessions.
like checking your smartphone for 2 minutes when your alarm goes off in the morning,
Exactly.
then like 3 minutes while you're waiting in line for coffee, then 5 minutes in the elevator. It's dozens of these tiny little sessions happening all day long, and it seems completely harmless because they're so short.
Right, they feel like nothing. But the sources indicate this significantly increases your total overall exposure.
Because you're never recovering.
Exactly. Because in every single one of those brief microsessions, your blink rate plummets again. You never allow your visual system to establish a real baseline of hydration. You're just resetting that dehydration cycle over and over and over. You are subjecting your eyes to constant low-level mechanical dehydration from the exact moment you wake up to the moment you finally go to sleep.
Wow. Okay, so if the physical act of staring is drying us out mechanically, what about the light itself?
Yeah.
Because the sources bring up blue light, and I have to play devil's advocate and push back on this narrative a bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
The research notes that blue light is actually a naturally occurring part of the visible light spectrum.
Right.
Like, it is quite literally in sunlight.
It is, absolutely.
So if we evolved under a sun that is blasting us with blue light all day long anyway, why are we suddenly treating my smartphone screen like it's a hazardous material?
It's a really fair question, and it comes down to the physics of the light, but more importantly, the context of our exposure. You're totally correct. Blue light is entirely natural. In the visible light spectrum, blue light contains very short wavelengths and very high energy.
Okay.
And those high energy waves scatter very easily. In a natural environment, outside, that scattering is actually what makes the sky look blue to us.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But when that exact same light is emitted from an artificial source incredibly close to your face, that scattering creates visual noise, or glare, and that diminishes visual comfort and forces the eye to strain even harder to maintain the image.
Ah, okay, so it's the proximity.
Proximity, yes. And
Huh.
duration. Devices like smartphones, tablets, computers, LED televisions, they're emitting this high-energy light at extremely close range. Think about it. We don't stare directly into the midday sun for 8 hours a day at a distance of 12 inches.
Well, I hope not. That sounds terrible.
Right. But we are perfectly happy subjecting our retinas to intense, close-up screen exposure for prolonged, completely unnatural periods of time. And beyond just the mechanical strain of that glare, this specific wavelength of light deeply, deeply manipulates the brain.
And this brings us to the sleep connection, which, honestly, completely changes the stakes of screen time for me.
It really does. If we connect this to the bigger picture, blue light is the primary environmental signal that tells the human biological clock, hey, it is daytime, be awake, be alert.
Meaning when we spend the final hour of the day lying in bed, scrolling through social media or reading the news on a glowing tablet.
We are essentially shining a tiny artificial sun directly onto our retinas at 11 o'clock at night.
Yikes.
Yeah. This exposure severely disrupts the body's natural circadian rhythm. It suppresses the production of melatonin, which makes it incredibly difficult for the brain to properly transition into the chemical state it needs for restful sleep.
And that just creates a totally devastating feedback loop for your visual system. So the high-energy screen light suppresses your melatonin. You sleep poorly. And the research explicitly states that poor sleep actually diminishes visual comfort and focus the next day.
Exactly.
So you wake up with eyes that haven't fully recovered from yesterday, making them infinitely more vulnerable to the glare and the pixel strain the very next day. You're just grinding your visual system down to dust without ever giving it a chance to repair.
That's the reality of it. The physical mechanics of staring dry out the eye and the specific wavelengths of light emitted by the screen rob the eye of the overnight recovery time it desperately, desperately needs.
Okay, so we have a pretty clear, kind of terrifying picture of the problem. We've got the pixelated loose sand making the muscles work harder, the lack of blinking drying out the surface, and the close proximity blue light scattering into glare and wrecking our sleep.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. But so what does this all mean? Since throwing our devices away isn't an option for, keeping our jobs, how do we build a tactical external defense strategy?
Thankfully, the source material offers several highly effective, really actionable adjustments you can make to your physical workspace to break this cycle. The absolute foundation of this defense is the 20-20-20 rule.
Okay, let me guess. Every 20 minutes, blink 20 times for 20 seconds.
Close, but no. Every 20 minutes, you need to actively look at something 20 feet away for a minimum of 20 seconds.
I mean, it sounds so incredibly basic. Does just looking at a wall really undo the damage of staring at a monitor?
It does, and here's why. Think about the ciliary muscle inside your eye.
What? The ciliary muscle?
Yeah, the ciliary muscle. That muscle controls the shape of your lens to help you focus on close objects. When you look at a monitor at arm's length, that muscle has to physically contract. It clenches.
Wait, so it's flexing the entire time?
The entire time. If you stare for an hour, that muscle is tightly clenched for a solid hour. It is the biological equivalent of holding a heavy dumbbell straight out at arm's length and just keeping it there. The muscle burns, it fatigues, and it eventually starts to shake.
Oh, wow. So the 20-20-20 rule is essentially like taking your eyes to the gym, but making sure you give them a 20-second water break between heavy sets so the muscles don't cramp up.
Yeah.
Looking 20 feet away is finally setting the dumbbell down.
Exactly. That is a perfect way to visualize it. At a distance of about 20 feet, the ciliary muscle can completely relax. The lens flattens out. Doing it for a full 20 seconds gives those muscle fibers enough time to actually release the tension they've built up.
Okay, I love that. What about the physical arrangement of the hardware itself? Like, how should we be positioning these screens?
Well, ergonomics dictate that your monitor should be kept about an arm's length away. But crucially, the top of the screen should be slightly below your eye level.
Wait, slightly below eye level. Why? Does that just help with neck posture?
It does help the neck, definitely, but it is primarily about evaporation.
Evaporation.
Yeah, think about it. When a screen is below eye level, you have to look slightly downward. To do that, your eyelids naturally lower, covering a much larger portion of the surface of your eye.
Oh my gosh.
If you are looking up at a screen, your eyes literally have to open wider, exposing maximum surface area to air, which rapidly accelerates the tear evaporation we discussed earlier. Looking slightly down creates a physical shield for your eyes' moisture.
That is brilliant. Just altering the angle protects the hydration, like mind blown.
It's the small things.
The sources also mention managing the ambient environment around you.
Yeah.
Right, like ensuring the screen is free from direct glare from windows or overhead lights.
Yes, and matching the brightness and contrast of your screen to the surrounding room. A brilliantly bright screen in a pitch-black room forces the eye to simultaneously process extreme light and extreme dark, which is a recipe for severe strain. You want the screen to sort of blend into the ambient lighting.
Makes sense.
You can also actively increase your blink awareness, literally put a sticky note on your monitor, and use the built-in blue light filtering modes or warm color settings that come on almost all modern devices now. And of course, make it a habit to stand, stretch, and step away. Consistency here is far more important than perfection.
Right. Permanently lowering your monitor's brightness or turning on an automatic evening blue light filter, those are sustainable defenses that just run in the background. You don't even have to think about them.
Exactly. Set it and forget it.
Okay, so we can manipulate the light, we can adjust the monitor height, and practice looking away to drop the dumbbell. But here's where it gets really interesting to me. The eye is still a living organ. Is there a way to make the living tissue itself more resilient to the strain? Because we usually treat tech fatigue purely as an IT problem, like we buy matte screen protectors and adjust software settings. But the article shifts gears dramatically here, pointing out that digital eye strain is fundamentally a nutritional problem, too.
Absolutely. Your visual system is incredibly metabolically active. Processing light into electrical signals that the brain can actually interpret requires a tremendous amount of cellular energy.
I bet.
And to maintain that normal function, especially under the heavy, constant workload of modern screen use, the eye requires very specific raw materials and nutrients.
Yeah, the sources highlight a pretty specific roster of key nutrients the eyes rely on. We're looking at vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, various antioxidants, and plant-based phytonutrients.
And these elements serve really distinct mechanical purposes. Vitamin A, for instance, is absolutely critical for maintaining a clear cornea. It's also a component of rhodopsin, which is a protein in your eyes that allows you to see in low light conditions.
Oh, wow. What about the antioxidants?
The antioxidants, including vitamin C and E, are necessary to clear out the oxidative stress, which is essentially the cellular exhaust produced by processing high-energy light all day. And phytonutrients often act as a sort of internal sunblock. They absorb some of that excess light energy before it can stress the retina.
That's amazing. Now, ideally, we're sourcing all of this from a perfectly balanced diet full of colorful fruits, dark leafy greens, and vegetables.
But the modern diet often falls short.
Exactly, which is where the article introduces a supplemental approach called Visium Plus.
Right. Visium Plus is positioned as a premium vision support supplement. It's a targeted formulation designed specifically to provide those raw materials to the visual system.
Yeah, the profile includes the vitamins and minerals we just covered, alongside a blend of specific mushrooms, antioxidants, and plant extracts tailored for eye wellness. But let me ask the obvious question here. I have to push back.
Okay, go for it.
If someone purchases Visium Plus and they take these premium antioxidants and vitamins every single morning, does that grant them a biological free pass to binge watch shows on their phone in a pitch dark room until 3 in the morning? Like, does the internal nutrition cancel out the external abuse?
I see where you're going with this. It is a tempting thought. But this raises an important question, and evaluating it through the lens of holistic health provides a very clear answer. No, supplements, no matter how premium or targeted, cannot rewrite the laws of biology.
So no loopholes. Darn.
No loopholes. A supplement like Visium Plus is a highly effective tool to complement your wellness routine. It ensures your metabolically hungry eyes have the nutrients they need to function optimally and recover efficiently. But no combination of plant extracts can outwork chronic sleep deprivation.
Right.
Vitamins cannot replace the physical necessity of hydration, and they certainly cannot negate the mechanical damage and evaporation caused by staring at a monitor for 10 hours without blinking.
Got it. The internal defense is an addition to the tactical defense, not a replacement for it.
Precisely. The article is very careful to stress that Visium Plus is just one component of a broader, cohesive strategy. Managing your screen proximity, utilizing the 20-20-20 rule to relax the ciliary muscle, prioritizing quality sleep to allow for that crucial melatonin production, and actively hydrating, those are the non-negotiable foundations. The nutritional support just acts as an additional layer of physiological armor.
It really is about playing the long game for your sensory health. Modern life demands our eyes perform high-precision tasks they were literally never evolutionarily designed to do for this kind of duration. We're essentially treating our eyes like marathon runners who never get to take off their shoes.
That's a great image.
Or like a smartphone battery that we constantly drain down to 1%, then only plug in for 5 minutes before unplugging it and demanding it perform again. We never let it fully recharge, and we wonder why it starts degrading.
Exactly. But knowledge regarding these mechanisms is only valuable when you actually apply it to your routine. We've explored the evaporation caused by reduced blinking, the glare and sleep disruption of high-energy blue light, the mechanics of the ciliary muscle, and the metabolic demand for nutrients like vitamin A and antioxidants. You don't need to completely overhaul your life or throw your computer away today.
Thank goodness.
Right. Just pick one habit to alter today. Angle your monitor slightly downward to protect your tear film. Or set a recurring timer on your phone to practice the 20-20-20 rule. Or perhaps take a hard look at your nutritional intake and consider how you are fueling your eyes, whether through a more colorful diet or an integrated supplement like Visium Plus.
Small, consistent interventions will keep your visual system functioning comfortably for years to come.
Mm.
Because there's a final thought I really want you, the listener, to consider as technology continues its relentless sprint forward. We just spent this entire deep dive mapping out how much mechanical strain and cellular exhaust is generated by staring at flat screens sitting an arm's length away.
Yeah.
We know that locking our eyes at a fixed distance fatigues our ciliary muscles and evaporates our hydration. But what is going to happen to our visual wellness as virtual reality and augmented reality headsets become the mainstream way we work and play?
Oh, wow.
Right. When the screens are literally inches from our retinas, projecting artificial depths of field directly into our eyes, how will our already exhausted visual systems adapt when looking 20 feet away to drop the dumbbell is no longer even physically possible in a virtual space?
That is a profound question. And honestly, it underscores exactly why building resilience and good visual habits today is absolutely critical for whatever the future of technology brings.
Absolutely. Definitely something to think about the next time you feel the urge to rub those tired eyes. Take care of your vision, and thanks for joining us on this deep dive.